This next presentation is one that I personally am pretty excited about because I'm a bit of a bicycle nerd, and so we're also in the country of bicycles. Fortunately, we've got a gentleman who's going to be speaking with us today, Christoph, who comes from an organization called Mocci, which is in the process of really reinventing this entire process. Yeah. And so I wanted to hand the stage over to you, Karim, also for a little brief introduction. Is your mic good?
Good morning.
Okay.
Or it's working. All right. Good morning, everyone. It's really my pleasure to receive on stage Christoph, my friend Christoph, today, right? And two things to know about Christoph, right? He has always been in the mobility sector, the sustainable mobility sector, right? He started in BMW, he worked at Sono Motors, and today he's, the head of PLM at Mocci, right? And the second thing to know about Christoph is that he always started from scratch, right? Taking people from using Excel sheets or wherever, to manage their bombs to the light and to use some incredible systems like the one they are using today. So in this presentation today, hopefully, Christoph, you will show us how you are bringing people from using some traditional PDM systems, to a real PLM system with Innovi. And the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Karim, and thanks for having me. Yes, I want to talk about how we achieve sustainable product development using the 3DEXPERIENCE platform. And I want to start with why we are developing an electric bike and why we chose 3DEXPERIENCE as a PLM system. I want to talk about how we are implementing it, or how we implemented it, which licenses we are using, and in which timeline, and what exactly we are doing in detail. Okay, first of all, the why. So the business market for electrical bikes is quite big, and it's growing quite fast. So the main contributors are people, services, and goods. And what we've seen is in cities, actually more combustion engine cars are replaced by bikes than are replaced by cars at the moment, by electric cars. So, and there's not many products that really cover the B2B market that really dedicated for it. There's some cargo bikes, but if you really want to use it every day and low downtimes, there's not so many dedicated products. And I have to say, in many cities, if you're going in the rush hour, it's faster to go by bike than to go by car in the end. And of course, you can also use bikeways. Yeah. So first, I want to show a video that shows our use cases. Okay, so we had campus and fleet, utility and services, logistics, and food delivery. Those are the commercial aspects, our main customers. From the technical side, the main requirements that we have are lowering the downtime, being mass producible to deliver high numbers to big customers, and connectivity. So lowering downtime we achieve by using a ride-by-wire system, because the part that breaks mostly on a bike and that creates the most downtime is actually the chain. So we're completely chainless. We have a generator in the pedals and a motor in the rear wheel. We use cargo bike brakes that are stronger and last longer. And actually we use recuperation, which you cannot use when you have a classical like mid-drive motor and a bike chain. So this is also additionally reducing the brake usage and, of course, more sustainable. Mass producible, we're using a polyamide chassis, which is thermoplast, completely recyclable. It's glass fiber reinduced, and it's most of our parts, even the whole frame, comes out of one tool, but also the fork, the wheels. Yeah, and most bikes are with metal frames are hand welded in very few companies. So it's a very very vulnerable supply chain, which showed also in COVID, but it's not really upscalable. And connectivity, we have an IoT system. We have all of the data available from the bike on the display, but also in our fleet management system and in our own app. So as you can see, we're developing hardware, electronics, and software. That alone drives up the product complexity as major USPs.
Just a question, Christoph.
Yeah.
The software you are delivering is, there is a software that is part of the bike,
yeah.
Right? But are you delivering an app for the fleet managers
yes.
to manage their bike fleet,
yeah.
Outside?
Yes, that as well. Yeah.
All right.
And yeah, to manage all of this, we already need a strong virtual twin concept. And then there are the commercial requirements. Of course, big customers have their own requirements, and we want different boxes. For example, a trailer coupling on the bike, different color options, different brandings. So we try to keep the variance as low as possible, but that alone already creates some variance that we have to consider. Okay, and we chose 3DEXPERIENCE as a PLM system. Originally, what's always seen is the 3D data management. We have to have the 3D data management in a storage, but it's just the tip of the iceberg. There's much more to it. Luckily, I had implemented 3DEXPERIENCE before, so I knew what requirements would come next. Usually the next one is ensure traceability, having a revisioning system, a change, release management process, issue management process. Usually all of these requests come in really like, we want that one thing now, but it's very important, in my opinion, to have a holistic view over everything. For example, change management. When we went into hard tools, we needed a change management, of course, to ensure that all the changes are tracked. But I insisted that we are doing the issue management first, and that every change that we start has an issue first, because if you don't have an issue, there's no reason to change anything. So having all of that in mind, I think, is quite important when doing the implementation. Then, how did we do it? So we started off basically just with the standard license PCS and CAD license. And later we needed a more sophisticated BOM management and also a manufacturing BOM. And the last step was product management to create variants and evolutions, connecting supply chain, and having a dedicated service BOM. So Now for the what. How do we implement it in detail? When I started, which was in May 2023, we had all of the data still on, the CD data was on SharePoint, and BOM management was in Excel, and there was a lot of issue management lists. Basically, every department had its own list. There was many duplicates, no real collaborative work. So what I did first is actually I used, since we did have CATIA v5 already, I used the PCS license that was attached to it, and uploaded everything into 3DEXPERIENCE, basically for free, and then presented it. So everybody wanted a license, of course, and we got many licenses. We uploaded all of the drawings, all of the legacy data that we had, which was not that much, luckily, and yeah, we used issue management quite early, actually, because it makes sense to work not file-based, but really model-based, and also having it connected to the revisions, that you not only know which issues occur, but also when they are solved, at which state of the parts. We did use task management for a while also, especially when it's derived from the issues. We had first a manufacturing BOM created as a product structure. Later we went to Delmia, and of course change management, a clear approval process, especially being a small company working with big production partners. Of course, there's always mistakes being made, and it's important to have the sign-off process to see, okay, who approved it and whose fault it was in the end, because that's whoever carries the costs. Yeah. And next up, the product management. So we decided to go for the start of production only with 2 colors and 8 variants of the bike, including our variants are rear rack options, trailer coupling, the front rack, different ones, different tires, a airless option and a regular tube option, and of course different customer brandings and colors. And it's only 8 variants actually for the start of production, but since it comes in batches also, and in all the batches you improve something, it's already 3 batches, which are evolutions, basically. So that's already 24 different BOMs to manage, which without a PLM system, in my opinion, is a very tough task. Okay, manufacturing BOM V2. We had a manufacturing team growing, and the product structure was not enough for them. They needed a sophisticated manufacturing BOM, and we are using the MFN from Delmia, and works pretty well for us. Especially, we don't have the process part, because we are mainly assembling. We are not producing any parts by ourselves. And same goes for the service BOM. So this was all last year, and with this licenses, actually we were good to go to start the production. So roughly 1 year from first using PLM to really producing serious status bikes.
Pretty good.
And next steps. So for this year, we started off having a software BOM, because we wanted to track the software as well, with revisions, with releases. Right now it's just a product structure. We are not actively uploading the software yet, but we have in mind that it is possible, so maybe. Connection to other systems. In the past, I already connected to SAP for another company, 3DEXPERIENCE Cloud to SAP Cloud. We are planning that a connection to ERP and a connection to our fleet management system, because there's information that's always mastered in the PLM system, and there's always information mastered in these systems. So it's necessary to have a connection, in my opinion. Documentation, we have a lot of critical documents that also need a release and traceability process, ideally also connected to status of the bike, so makes sense to do that as well in the platform. Assembly instructions and manuals, so we don't need that internally. Our assembly team works with the 3D mostly, but for customers that assemble things and also for our service partners, it does make sense to have that as well. And additional projects, it's not only bikes, the whole concept of the pedaling plus the motors also works for bigger vehicles. So we'll definitely not stop at the bike. We will have different products as well. And what we are planning is a more in-house development, having a bigger team and developing more in-house with CATIA 3DEXPERIENCE, but also Simulia. And we want to get rid of drawings, 3D tolerancing, definitely. Yeah, definitely important. We tried it before, but it's not that easy with suppliers, especially in Germany. Okay, and this is 2 use cases that we are having because we didn't have the fleet management system ready yet. So my idea was you look for a vehicle identification number, and via classification you can find, okay, which batch was it built in, which configuration it is, so which color and stuff, but not only see which configuration it is, as a list or something, but also see it visually in 3D. So what we did is we attached a filter of the EBOM to the batch number, so you can search for the vehicle identification number, then you can see what kind of bike it is. Quite a pragmatic way when not many bikes are produced, but I think once we scale up, either this is done via API and the information comes from another system. Yeah, possibly. I don't know yet. But it is good. It is a good way of working, in my opinion, until a more sophisticated system is there. And the same goes for traceability of serial numbers. We have included some critical parts, like the brakes, for example, where we don't only want to track, okay, in which bike we have which revision and which part number of this product, but also which serial number that comes from the supplier. So safety relevant, yeah, brakes of course, but also a motor and others. And we just use a categorization library for that. And yeah, and we add the serial number there as a tab. Okay, so in summary, this is our architecture. Blue is all in 3DEXPERIENCE. Purple is external systems. And light blue here is our purchasing BOM, which I'm hoping to use to connect also to these other external systems, so that we have the information in both in 3DEXPERIENCE and in the other systems. For example, my goal is engineers can fully work in 3DEXPERIENCE and don't have to bother using an ERP system. And the whole commercial team does not need the PLM system because the information is exchanged here in both. And same goes for a service team, for example, with the fleet management system, and so on. Okay, any questions to that?
Hey, I'm Sachin from Amgen, a product manager implementing PLM there. A question regarding EBOM, MBOM, because that's something that's, I think, an issue that's too close to our heart as well, is how do you identify the boundary, in your case, of where engineering definition ends, where specification ends, versus where you consider it a manufacturing BOM and something that you would have maybe a different group of people handling, or perhaps deciding between NOE and Delmia, for example?
Release, I would say. So
Okay.
After release, it's free for manufacturing to use, but the release for me is basically where engineering stops, development stops, and operations start.
Because I do see that you have variations in your product definition, but do you have any variation in your manufacturing? Or are you not yet at a stage where you might have variation in manufacturing?
No, it's for both.
It's for both.
Yeah, the product definition goes for both MBOM and EBOM.
Good. Thank you.
But yeah, we don't have, since we are not using an ERP system yet, we still have the, you cannot order a part without releasing it first. So you cannot really use it for the MBOM before it is officially released. Yeah, and this is also why we need to separate it, because the EBOM is not just, for us, is not just the engineering definition, but it is also the definition of how you package the parts and how you can order them.